Hey guys, welcome back to Title Queen at the Movies with Steve Hayes. I'm Johnny, and this week Steve's got something special for us, so let's go take a look. Johnny!
Title Queen at the Movies. I wanted to recommend one of my favorite films of the 1940s, which was the MGM version of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice from 1940, directed by Robert Z. Leonard, starring Laurence Olivier, Greer Garson, Mary Boland, Edmund Gwen, and the incomparable Marsha Hunt. Now, this movie was one of the many versions of Jane Austen novels that they have filmed over the years, and although this one was not necessarily correct period-wise.
Bold words, my girl, bold words.
Among Jane Austen aficionados, it's not one of the most accurate. It's real MGM gloss and glamour, and I just love it. I think one of the reasons I love it so much is that it's got the character actors cast of death in this. For example, the mother of the Bennet girls is played by Mary Boland. Mary Boland goes through this whole movie. She had played the Countess in The Women the year before, and they handed her this role because it was such a great, great character part. And she'll say to her husband, who's Mr. Bennet, who's played by Edmund Gwen, Mr. Bennet, 5 daughters, Mr. Bennet, 5.
Look at them! 5 of them without dowries! What's to become of them?
Yes, what is to become of the wretched creatures? Perhaps we should have drowned some of them at birth.
Mr. Bennet.
Later on, she says, Mr. Bennet, Lady Lucas's carriage tried to overtake us. Oh, did they, my dear? No, indeedy. She's so adorable. And she's got these little pin curlers that always move all around when she talks, you know. Greer Garson is the oldest daughter, Lizzie, and the one who's very normal and accomplished. And there's Maureen O'Sullivan, who's Jane, the pretty one. And then there's Marsha Hunt, who's Mary, who's a little nearsighted and plays music off-key a lot. And the other 2 sisters are rounded out by Anne Rutherford and Heather Angel, and they're sort of the flibberty-gibbet ones. Now, Olivier had just come off Wuthering Heights, and he was a big old romantic star, and this was between Wuthering Heights and Rebecca. He wanted Vivien Leigh very much to play Lizzie.
Of all the arrogant, detestable snobs.
But Selznick wasn't going to loan her out because she'd just done Gone with the Wind, and he wanted her around to do publicity and stuff for that. And so Greer Garson had come over to the States and won an Oscar nomination the year before in '39 for Goodbye, Mr. Chips, and she was chosen to play Lizzie. Olivier was not all that fond of Greer Garson.
Provincial young lady with a lively wit, heaven preserve us.
Her Lizzie is down to earth and with that wonderful sort of Greer Garson charm and beauty and Irish elegance that she had about her.
Oh, she looks tolerable enough. But I'm in no humor tonight to give consequence to the middle classes that play.
Also in the cast is Edna May Oliver, who's Lady Catherine de Bourgh, and she is the aristocracy that they're all trying to impress.
Lizzie, do try to make a good impression. You can be so appealing when you want to be.
Edna May had a face, she always said, I had a face like the back of Beyond. Had a face like a horse. And she said, but I made a lot of money with that face. Later on, she has Greer Garson come over to play the piano for her. And Greer, of course, sits down and plays beautifully. When she gets done, Lady Catherine looks at her and says, my dear, that was adequate. Nearly adequate.
Mr. Darcy's sister, Georgiana, is a very accomplished musician. And I, too, should have been a great proficient if I'd ever learnt.
This movie moves along at a great pace. It's got a wonderful, wonderful story. It's heartwarming. Olivier is fantastic. And I had the great, great pleasure of having dinner and meeting Marsha Hunt not too long ago. And Marsha is a lovely, lovely, talented actress who is in her 90s and still going strong. Marsha told me, I asked her about Pride and Prejudice, and she said, well, this was only her 2nd film that she had done at MGM. And all the girls were madly in love with Laurence Olivier.
Yes.
How modern.
Yes, indeed.
I asked her about Mary Boland, and she said, well, when I just played Mary, she said, I decided she was a comic character, so I always had her looking, squinting and looking over her shoulder. And she always sang, I had her singing off key. And I was funny, and the director, Robert Z. Leonard, liked what I was doing. So he began putting me in all these shots, peering in around these shots.
Oh, Mary,
try to sparkle a little. Just a little.
Said Mary Boland, who'd been an old comedian for years, was a little skeptical about having somebody else funny in her scene, and she'd say, "Where's that girl, that funny one? I want to keep my eye on her. Where is she?"
Perhaps he has beauties of character.
Yes, perhaps, my dear, but we shall see.
In Robert Z. Leonard's marvelous Pride and Prejudice.
Let's all go to the lobby.
Are the hens laying?
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.